Right, welcome back to another gameplay video from Whizbit's Random Gaming. You got myself, Tony Whizbit. If you haven't already, take the time to subscribe to the channel, click that like button, give us a share, leave us a comment. It's all appreciated and you're helping the channel out massively. So today's game of choice, it's an absolute classic. One of the biggest 4-player arcade games of the early 90s, and that is Konami's The Simpsons Arcade. Okay, so bear with me here. Looks like I've got a bit of a capture card issue. Let's try and sort that out as we go along.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Right, okay, we've got it now. I thought I'd cut this bit out of the video, or I think I'll cut it out as we go along. Frame rate issue was a little bit all over the place, but we're up and running now. So yeah, apologies for anyone that was looking forward to watching the basic first level. Yeah, had to cut most of that out. But anyway, on to this boss. This spy type guy flies down from the sky in some sort of pro wrestling guise. And I always tend to use Marge on this these days when I play it. Because I think she's the most underrated character, got the best reach. And no one really used her in the arcade. It was always if you got third or fourth choice, you know, Marge or Lisa. Everyone went for Bart and Homer, didn't they? But yeah, anyway, these characters, if I remember rightly, this game was developed and possibly released on the back end of season 1 or 2 of The Simpsons, which meant, you know, they did really have limited characters to play with. And what's impressive on that is that the bosses, you still get some really good boss fights in this, but a lot of them I've never actually seen in the actual TV show. What? No way. How did I lose that? But yeah, on the flip side of what I was just saying, in terms of, even though there was very limited characters in terms of The Simpsons stable, should we say, around about the time of this development, they did provide some good end-of-level bosses. But one thing that I've always said has let this game down, and it's one of the only things, because it's a fantastic game, and, you know, some people will tell you it's the best beat-em-up of the 90s. And it's definitely within that bracket and that field. But one thing that does let it down is the repetitive characters that you fight continuously throughout the game. But I will say one of the charms of the game, and the series in general, you know, over the years, is that what characters they did have available, they make great use of. As you can see, there's Otto there, and the guy there in the suit and tie, I forget his name, but he's been in multiple episodes. Now, it's like these two guys, see them there, the small guy and the big guy, sort of like the Simpsons versions of the Blues Brothers. You know, they end up being a boss, but I've never seen them in the show. And I watched the first 10 series of The Simpsons easily numerous times before I kind of lost a little bit of interest in it over the years. And I've not seen them and various other characters that you fight along the way. So although it's slightly annoying in terms of your basic opponents like these purple guys, yeah, credit to Konami. They still give us some great cameos and some decent enemies throughout the entire game. And I always say variety is a big part of a beat-em-up's lifespan. You know, whether or not you can play it again or whether or not you want to play it again. It fails a little bit in this department, this game, but the gameplay is key here, and that definitely wins out. I think we all remember the bear. I think that was in the episode where Homer gets mistaken for Bigfoot, am I right? Let me know in the comments if I'm totally wrong about that one. But yeah, he comes out covered in all sorts, and people start taking photos of him and believe that Homer is Bigfoot. Oh, that was the good days of Simpsons. There's some great episodes. One of my personal favourites, and one of my friends, Brett, we used to watch this all the time when it was on Sky. One of my favourite episodes was the Tobacco episode. I don't know if anyone will recall that, Tobacco, where Homer gets challenged to a duel. And yeah, essentially chickens out and goes to live on a farm and ends up growing tomatoes with tobacco seeds or something like that, and creates a very addictive plant called, quite aptly, tobacco. Yeah, I love that episode. Great to see Krusty the Clown as one of the enemies in this. For me, Krusty is the anti-hero of The Simpsons. One of the ones you love, but, you know, he's a terrible guy, isn't he? Let's be honest. Now, I think I'm playing the Japanese ROM of this arcade game, because if I remember rightly, there is some slight differences in the game throughout, and I think the boss fight with the Krusty Balloon is one of them. There's a couple of differences in terms of the projectiles they throw at you or something like that. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's one of the small differences that we've got with the European version and the Japanese, and possibly the American as well. Now, for me, this game brings back a lot of memories from when I was around about 14 or 15, something like that. It wasn't really something that we saw in our local shops, you know, that had arcade machines them days. It was, you know, Street Fighter 2 and things like that had kind of taken over. But we did see this at every kind of theme park, amusement park you would go to. It had to have a 4-player Simpsons machine. And I really remember the time I went to an Alton Towers school trip, and this machine, the 4-player cabinet, was the highlight of their arcade at Alton Towers. You know, it was constantly people on it, and when we got on it, my whole class, it was just a case of us rotating 10s or 20 pences, whatever it cost at the time, you know, between a good 10 to 15 of us before we finished the game. And we did, and that was some achievement for us kids back then. It was essentially like loser comes off, next one comes on, you know, and we just rotated it like that. And I'm sure we probably upset a few people that day that wanted to get on the machine, but in fairness, we waited a long time anyway, so yeah, I weren't too bothered. You don't really care as a kid, do you? Now, I would have absolutely loved to have seen the fate that the old pink shirt guy got here. You don't really see it. Don't worry, he definitely makes a comeback in this game. The classic elevator level from practically every beat 'em up, worth its salt. Is it really a beat 'em up game if it doesn't have the scrolling elevator scene? I think it's written into the rules there. If thy make thy beat 'em up, we must have the elevator level. Right, so here we go. Simpsons versions of the Blues Brothers. Now, I've always been fascinated by these two. As well as the other bosses that I've mentioned earlier during this video. Now, where did they come from? The inspiration, anything like that. Now, there's a lot of big Simpsons fans out there, so maybe someone's got some information they can leave in the comments for me below. I've never seen them in an episode. If I've missed it, let me know. But yeah, pretty cool characters. I don't know how many times I've played this game over the years, but occasionally I still fall for that and walk in front of the door. Gotta love the cameo there from Barney. And who can forget Moe, eh? Like I say, what characters they did have, they've made sure to include them throughout the course of the game, and the inclusion of them is done really well. It's a real shame that we never got the port of this to home consoles. Oh, now obviously you can play it these days quite easily by firing up any old MAME emulator. But back then, when MAME wasn't a thing, you know, we was all dying for this to come out on whatever console we could get it on. Super Nintendo, the Mega Drive. Most of my friends had SNES, Super Nintendos, in all honesty. Mega Drive was popular, but not as popular. But I tell you what, if this game had come out on the Mega Drive, it would have been that game. It would have been that killer app. People would have started buying Mega Drives. Whether they'd have kept them or not long term, they definitely would have had kids telling their parents, I want a Mega Drive. Or should I say Genesis for anyone outside of the UK. Cool name, the Genesis, but I'll always love the name Mega Drive.
How's my hair?
Now again, this is one of the characters I've never seen in the TV show. Nevertheless, a cool boss, and like I say, I'll give credit to Konami. They were running with limited characters at the time due to where the seasons and the actual TV show itself was in its progression. But you know, there were still some characters we could have had as bosses. I mean, throughout this game, you do get a little cameo from someone like Sideshow Bob. I don't see why he couldn't have been one of the end of level bosses, because he was essentially portrayed as a villain. Then you've got there was the babysitter, wasn't there? The one that Homer went and told the news crew that he took care of, but clearly didn't in typical Homer fashion. Can't remember the name of the babysitter, but yeah, that could have been a final boss. So strange why they didn't incorporate those kind of characters in. So we're clearly villains from the first season or second season. There was a few. But at the age I was when this came out, I don't think any of us paid two minds to that. No one was complaining, you know, that Sideshow Bob wasn't a boss. It's only now that I'm thinking far too advanced about a Simpsons Arcade Game where they could have improved it. Now look, that's another good example. Nelson. I think they nailed the stereotypical bully really, really well with the character Nelson, and his, you know, his laugh, which I'm not going to attempt to do. I did think about it slightly, but I'm going to not make myself look bad. His laugh has become really iconic, hasn't it? It's a meme. But yeah, Nelson and his friends, they could have all been some kind of boss. But yeah, gotta love Nelson. Absolutely pounded the hell out of Bart during the first season. Sent him home in the dustbin. And although I can't remember the content, I remember Homer having a one-to-one, a heart-to-heart with Bart over the bullying situation. And you think you're going to get to that heartwarming moment, and in typical Homer fashion, he goes and spoils it. I can't remember the content, as I say, of it, but I just remember it was, you know, we was all getting to know Homer as a character around about that point. And I think we had a good idea of what we had to come by that time. And he only got worse as time went on. Now, I'll be honest, as totally creative as this level is, it looks gorgeous and it really is creative. I absolutely hate playing it. The reason why, I mean, I don't know, it's a bit frustrating, and I used to absolutely hate the little devil Barts that you'll see later on in this level. But yeah, it looks fantastic, and you've got to give Konami even more credit. I've said it numerous times. These were a pain as well, these saxophones. The look of this game for the time it came out, was it 91, 92? I'd have to look up. Clearly haven't done all of my research before playing this today. It's as good as it's going to get. It looks as close to the TV show as it possibly could. Now you see the variety of characters within this level. It would have been nice to have seen it spread out over the course of the game, and I absolutely love this iteration of a final level boss here. Now obviously Homer, being the American guy that he is, clearly loves his bowling, and Marge has to take on his bowling ball. Now, I'll tell you what, I don't think you would get away with this level in today's day and age, especially having to slap Marge around or Lisa. You'd probably get away with slapping Homer around a little bit. Now, I can remember playing this, and we all thought it was an end-of-level boss. We thought, wow, that was really quick, because, you know, obviously, you've got this little sidekick alien thing that flies around, and also the lack of enemies on the screen at the same time as you're fighting him. So, you know, you're under the impression this is a boss. You're thinking, yep, nearly there. That was a really quick level, but no, it's not to be. You would, I guess, class this guy as a mid-level boss. Yeah, clearly a rip-off of, or inspired, shall we say, by Lost in Space. Now, what is with that? 4 guys in pink shirts all smacking their tummies. I didn't picture that today when I woke up, that I'd be looking at any sort of form of being able to say that sentence. Hey, well, every day's a school day, and yeah, I saw it, and so did you if you're watching. Now, what I like about this level, whilst it's not massively clever or original, you're in a TV studio, so as you progress through the levels, you know, you're going on to various sets of TV shows, and I figure this one is really apt for the time, because specifically in the mid-80s and still in the 90s, in all honesty, especially the early 90s, ninjas were hot shit. Everyone loved the ninja. You know, if you put ninja in the title of your film or TV show, you were guaranteed to get some kind of interest. I mean, let's be honest, as a kid, I watched all the American ninja films thinking they was like massive blockbusters. You know, it's only when you get older and you realise Canon films were not releasing blockbusters. They were releasing the equivalent of today's straight to streaming platform films, but much better. I don't care what anyone says. I love the Canon films. Death Wish 3 being probably my personal favourite. Yeah, slightly off on a tangent there. But yeah, gotta love Charles Bronson, aka Paul Kersey, the Vigilante. I might be totally wrong on this, but I've always looked at this character and just thought, I don't know why, this must be the hair, I've just thought that they thought of David Carradine from Kung Fu. Now, hasn't everyone's workplace got a Smithers? I think we've all seen a few Smithers in our time, wherever we've worked. Currently got one that's recently started where I work, actually. Even looks like him a bit.
Welcome to my world.
Right, so pretty much on to the sub-boss here in Smithers before we take on the almighty Mr. Burns. And now one thing I remember as a kid playing this, and even throughout the various times I've replayed it, is that Mr. Burns takes one hell of a lot of hits. He was designed to eat your money. Absolutely love the variations of Mr. Burns you have to fight, because if you watch the TV show, you'll know full well that, you know, a gust of wind is going to blow this guy over. So he needs all the protection he can get from his multi-billionaire funded suits in order for him to become a credible final boss. I mean, look. Who would have designed this and just said, you know what, once you've been hit X amount of times, yes, we will give you the base of a hovercraft. Yeah, as I say, you know, you just saw for yourself there just how many hits that guy took. So, yeah, his money was well spent, but didn't get the value he needed, did he, in the end? And the memories that this brings back, the nostalgia, just watching this here. I can just remember when we actually completed the game, you know, all of my classmates for the first time. Watching this credit scene with everyone all walking away on the monitor in the arcade, it was epic. It was something we all felt really proud of. It's like an achievement on the day. It was a big highlight of our school trip and something we all talked about, not just on the way home on the coach, but in the coming weeks, you know, about how we finished the Simpsons games there. My class, which was class, at the time, it would have been 5-1. Yeah, old school names. We finished it. Have you managed to do it? And other kids who hadn't been to Alton Towers and hadn't played the game clearly couldn't answer and say, yeah, we done it as well. So it was bragging rights. And looking back, it was probably not the best sort of thing to have as bragging rights, but yeah, we liked it. Right, anyway guys, that was the Simpsons Arcade Game, a true classic, and I think the only version we got ported was over to the Commodore 64. Have a long think about that. If you have enjoyed the video, please take the time to consider subscribing to the channel. Share the video, give us a like, leave us a comment. It's all appreciated, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.